7 expensive landscape mistakes and how to avoid them. Let's get right into these. I've got my notes with me. Number 1, planting the wrong area. This is huge. Whether it be they don't get enough light, some type of screen blocks sunlight, maybe they get too much light and they can't handle that. All of this can hurt your investment. So make sure, 1, how big a plant gets, 2, what its light requirements need. You can easily search this online. In the world of AI now, you can quickly search. You take a picture of the plant while you're at a nursery looking. You say, what are the light requirements of this? It'll help you very, very quick. Second, installing landscape lighting incorrectly. Huge money waster right here. And mainly because installing it incorrectly, it's very easy to install. Even as a homeowner, very easy to do. It's one of my favorite services because you can really do such a quality job so easily. That's what's important. We want quality. But the big expense and waste here is if you install it poorly and aim it poorly and you create a system where there is no free play in any of your wire. So if anything needs moved around, you just can't fix it. Now you've got to start cutting back into it, buying more and more of the high dollar connections for the system. All of this can add up really, really quick. So to save money on your landscape lighting, one of the easiest ways to do this is to set out with a plan of here are the areas I'm going to illuminate, whether those be the trees and some of the flat areas of the home to add depth to the home, and then the warm up to the walkway. And then just lay out a little simple sketch of, hey, these are how the wires are going to get here. And then the key point for you, if you do this yourself, put service loops in the wiring, which means in between every light fixture, you take the wire and you just go in a circle and staple that down and then go to the next fixture. This is going to allow for if you ever need to work on the system or something gets torn in the future. The biggest problem is tight wiring where you can't move or you can't repair, because if a wire gets cut, you don't even have enough wire to put it back together. Service loops will fix all of that. Next, poor drainage around foundations. This is huge because in Florida we get so much rain that if your gutters pour right into your landscape, it lifts your mulch, it lifts your rock, it erodes everything, and then it just creates this extremely repetitive need to replace and fix and repair and replace and fix and repair. And it can even expose roots of plants and cause damage. And it's just something that if you can put a buried gutter drain underground and get the water just outside in the grass instead of in the landscape bed, it can save a bunch of money. Now, I kind of hit on this at first, but I was more talking about plant placement to light, and I said a little bit of size, but really just ultimately plants that will outgrow a space or that will get too high too quick, like something that you want it to stay low so you can see, and then it's something that gets really high really quick, so you have to trim it all the time. And if it's flowering, maybe then it never flowers correctly because you're always cutting off the buds. So knowing that you've got the right size plant for the space. Also spacing of the plants so you don't get stuff so together that it chokes itself out. These are a couple things that, here again, with just a little bit of thought and a little bit of research, even DIYing a project can be very, very easy. You just need to make sure you're not using stuff that's going to outgrow the space or gets put so close together that it doesn't do well in that situation. Now, next, huge here in Florida, massive problem, irrigation coverage. This is a costly mistake for your landscaping. This is a costly mistake for your sod. If you have St. Augustine sod and it's not irrigated, you lose it, right? So your whole investment can be gone. That's why it's so important when we're doing a new sod install that we're going to check and make sure the irrigation is working, because we know if we install this and you lose it all, that's horrible business on our part. Our goal is to make your job easy. So as the year progresses, if you don't have a company looking at your irrigation, turn on your irrigation, turn on all the zones. It's very, very easy. Look up take a picture of your system, your controller on the side of your house, read about that model and how you go through the system and turn on the different zones and make sure everything is working. Make sure that you don't have broken heads, you don't have geysers that aren't spraying correctly, you don't have clogged heads that have low pressure or some kind of overall pressure problem that could be coming from something like the snail filter or anything else in the system. And make sure that you have coverage, right? So if you have two heads, the water needs to be going from one to the other. It needs to be overlapping in the center. And if you have areas where the water isn't even connecting, you're gonna have poor coverage, which is gonna lead to dead plants, dead sod, and other investments that cost a lot on your property. And the other piece of this, if your irrigation system is going backwards, it's not gonna get better. It's just gonna get worse and worse and worse. And then the investment damage is going to just get worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And next, ignoring hurricane trimming. Just shot a video about this the other day. Taking down anything that is dead, tree that's about to go away, or limbs that are about to fall off, or excess fronds or trimming that needs to be done. Ignoring this trimming can be huge because two things can happen. Dead stuff will fall in high winds. It can destroy other things, fences, homes, windows. A lanai getting its structural integrity damaged, meaning like beating one of the braces, breaking that because of a tree, can be the start of the whole thing just ripping off if the storm is crazy. Now, if a storm's bad enough, there's gonna be a lot of cages that are lost either way, but removing those other opportunities to damage, and I can't tell you how many homeowners I've met when a huge storm is coming or we're preparing for a huge storm and we're getting trimming requests and hoping we can get it done before. Once a storm is days away, everybody's so busy doing the prep work that they already have for their existing list that getting something like a tree taken care of that right now while things are calm and you have time to do, that time has passed. And so maybe sometimes you can get it taken care of, but it just gets harder and harder and harder. So if you yourself can, or you have a company to look at it and do it, take down the dead stuff. Trim up your plants, make sure stuff's ready because hurricane season's right around the corner. Now finally, spending thousands and thousands, spending $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a landscape, but doing it one piece at a time, right? One of the biggest mistakes I see is, now you can do it one piece at a time, but if you do it with intention. People piecework things together. They do a little area here and a little area here, and they hire this person for that, and hire this person for that, or they DIY this and they DIY that. And it's very easy to get a landscape to start looking like a patchwork quilt, right? It'd be like, and I know this from experience because I've done it, putting multiple different random floorings in a house. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, none of this makes sense anymore. And so why did that happen, right? You want it to look clean and all work together and make sense. Otherwise, it looks like it was just an afterthought. This afterthought after that afterthought. And if you have a plan, initial plan on what you're going to do, then you can piece it together. But when you just come up with idea, then come up with idea, then come up with idea, what you end up doing is doing a lot of stuff that you either have to destroy to then do the next phase, or you do a lot of stuff that, oh man, now we changed our mind and we're gonna do it this way. And then it just looks different and it just looks like it wasn't intentional. It looks like it wasn't all one thought because it wasn't. It wasn't a plan. It was a bunch of random ideas that kind of came up and got puked out into these different areas. And I get it, it can get exciting to make improvements, but you'll save so much money if you have a simple plan of what it is we're going to do and how we're going to lay that out, so you don't create areas where you have to destroy to then fix, and you don't end up having a bunch of random things in random places that eventually you look at it and be like, I just want to rip all this out so I can make everything look as it should. And a landscape should carry materials, design, and idea through a whole area of the landscape and really the whole yard. It's not going to be this one random material to do this thing here and then this other random material here, unless there's some kind of specific intention. Otherwise, it just looks like a house with two different wood floors that butt up to each other, or at the doors it changes wood floors, and it's like, why wouldn't this all be the same? It's because it was an afterthought. Don't let your landscape be an afterthought, even if you DIY it yourself. Build yourself a simple master plan of, we're gonna do this, we're gonna use this material, and this is where we're gonna end and start, and think about, if you're going to piece it together, this is where we can start and stop that doesn't cause us to create any weird endings or any areas that look like things were an afterthought. So those are 7 huge areas where you can save money on your landscape by putting some forethought into it and changing some little simple things as easy as adding a service loop for landscape lighting, and it'll change your whole landscape plan.